And welcome to the Daily Autism Radio Show, the radio version of dailyautism.com, which is our online channel serving families of autism, primarily the parents of autistic kids. My name is Mark. This is my wife, Melissa.
Hello.
And hello.
Hello.
Hello. It's awesome to be here for another radio show. And of course, all of these shows are also posted across our multiple podcast platforms, our digital podcast platforms, where you can get at dailyautism.com. And of course, all of our social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, our LinkedIn newsletter, and all of our other content as well. All right, we're getting into the summer. Pool season is back here along the Gulf Coast of Florida, so we're going to talk a little bit about that and some resources for that. Also really excited, about a half hour, we're going to be joined by Dr. John Young from Young Foundational Health Center in Largo, Florida. We're going to have a fascinating conversation. Dr. Young he's really doing some cutting-edge research about autism, about the autistic brain, and a lot of things associated. He's also having really good success in his treatments based off of that research. So we're going to talk about a lot of those things with Dr. Young, and you can find out more about him by going to dailyautism.com, and you can click on the Young Foundational Health link there at dailyautism.com. So that's going to be a great conversation. It's always good to talk to an expert. Always good to talk to a doctor and somebody who can live in the research, understand the research. I try to get on those research sites, and some of these words, I don't even know how to spell them. And I'm like, what does this mean? So I've talked to Dr. Young before. He'll do a great job articulating all of this stuff and really making it make sense for parents, especially for the parents who are looking for options. You know, it's funny. There's great stuff out there.
Yeah, there are a lot of options. You just have to research.
You have to research, right? Yep. You have to have a conversation with someone. There are just, whether it's, there's great therapies out there, but some of the nutritional aspects, and some of these other treatments that Dr. Young will talk about, some of these proteins and everything, it's these aminos. There is some really great stuff out there. You don't hear it, but you don't hear about it in the day-to-day. You know what I mean? You've got to go find a pro who's really done a deep dive like he has. Yeah,
I think you have to look outside the box, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's, I don't know. Is it a money issue with just like basic medicine where it seems like some of the doctors don't want to talk about this stuff? Like maybe they don't understand it. I don't know.
I was just talking to someone the other day, and they were saying how their child was diagnosed later because the pediatrician just kept making excuses. Yeah. I think primary physicians still probably have a lot to learn. Well, so that's why it's nice to talk to the pros.
Yeah. We tell people all the time, like our pediatrician, great pediatrician, and if Cal, has a cold or, whatever, that's fine.
Yeah, I have not switched because of that.
Right, right. It's great. And she understands, his, challenges and everything. So that's great. But anything autism related, we're going above and beyond to other specialists and stuff like that.
Well, if I would have been waiting for her to give me the referral for a developmental pediatrician, I would have still been waiting. Yeah, I wouldn't have known until kindergarten.
They're still trained to kind of say, well, he has 4 siblings, or well, it's your first child, and so you're basing this off of your friends' children and their benchmarks and things like that. There's a lot of that still continues, and I think it's because, well, number one, it's easy, but number two, like you said, there's just not a lot of understanding about autism even now.
Even by professionals.
It's just,
I think if you're a parent and you know that something's off or different, I think it's you as a parent that has to take the steps, because for him, it all started at 15 months with a speech delay. And when the doctor told me, well, he has other siblings, blah, 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 let's wait till 18 months. And then 18 months, it's the same excuse.
Yeah.
And so I knew that he wasn't saying as much as he should be saying. So then you just have to take it upon yourself. And now, even when I go into the doctor for a sick visit, she doesn't understand autism like I do, So I am the professional in that aspect.
Right.
So I'm like, he's not going to do that. He's not going to do the heartbeat thing. If you want to do a swab on his throat, like, we're going to have to talk about this and do it a different way.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, I mean, at some point in life, I just think that, there's going to have to be, and I don't know if this is, 10 years or 30 years, whatever, but there's going to have to be even a doctor visit. There's probably going to be clinics solely for special needs kids, right? Because these other clinics, like you said, they just don't have the training. It's just, it's just so, and it's hard for the parents. It's hard for other parents. You have parents going in there with, neurotypical kids.
Right.
And that's hard for them, because it just takes extra time. And so it's a lot. But
there almost needs to be a drive-up option. Like the Zoom calls that you could do
right.
For doctor visits. But if you actually need your ears checked or your throat swabbed, it's almost like you should do a drive-up. Because for some people, it's too hard to get out of the car.
I've always been confused about the Zoom call for a doctor visit. Like if you're just talking about something, that's fine, because sometimes people just want to talk to their doctor. They want to say, hey, this is going on, and what do you think, to kind of get some preliminary stuff. But as far as, they're doing online diagnosing now for autism. And
really?
Oh, yeah. There's a couple of big companies now.
Wow.
And, of course, the companies say, well, we do this, that. It's the same as being in person. And maybe they do. I don't know. But to me, I just don't know how you would do that. I mean,
they had him doing special testing.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Even putting blocks on top of each other and stuff like that. I don't know how they would do that unless they had the parent doing it, going through the steps.
There would have to still be somebody with him.
Yeah.
With the person, with the child, I would think. I mean, I don't know. It's like technology. It's there's some good steps forward. There's some steps backwards.
I know if I have a sinus infection, if I was doing a Zoom call to say I have a sinus infection, fine. But for an ear infection or strep throat,
right?
Diagnosing autism, that's really unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, but they're doing it. It's happening a lot. But yeah, it is even getting out of the car. I mean, you have to think about all of that stuff, and so much of the world, and I get it. I mean, we're still at a point in time where it's it's not 1 in 2 kids, but it's definitely trending in that direction. I just think about who's out there thinking about this stuff. When it is, I think it's reasonable to say it'll be 1 in 25 in the next 10 years.
Maybe sooner,
but I'm just generally speaking, I mean, it could be, but let's just say, in 5 years, it's 1 in 25. And now you've got, a clear trajectory of where it's come from the 1 in 10,000, I think it was in the late 90s, somewhere around there, maybe early 90s. But anyway, so you got that clear path trajectory. How is life going to change? Like society. And I'm not talking about people. Like, I don't understand. I don't expect people to understand. And, because if you don't live with it, how, I've always said, I don't expect, you hear a lot of these campaigns because we're in Autism Awareness Month now and everything. And I think it's great. I think it's great that these companies talk about it. And, at least acknowledge they have a workforce. They have employees that are autistic. They have employees who have children who are autistic. And that's very hard. It's hard to keep a job when you have a special needs son.
Oh yeah.
A daughter, whoever. I mean, whatever. It's hard. It's really hard. If your child needs 24/7 care and you have other kids, it is really hard. So it's nice of these companies to acknowledge it. It really is. But what's going to actually happen in society? I'm always fascinated. What's this going to look like in 25 years? Hopefully I'm still here. I don't know. But what's it going to look like? Are there going to literally be, I was talking with someone the other day about basically these communities where you would have these parents, these neurotypical parents living with their special needs kids, and the community would have everything you would need.
I like that.
Yeah. But,
I do. I like it a lot.
Yeah. And so
it makes me feel comfortable knowing that he would be in a safe place.
Yeah. I mean, as safe as you can be, and everything that you would need, from like we were talking, it would have a sensory room. The grocery stores would be, totally equipped with whatever you need. Obviously specialized education. All the police officers and firefighters would have special training. You wouldn't have retention ponds that are open, right? Those would be fenced in. Like every little thing you could think of would be thought out. And,
unfortunately, it takes a parent of a special needs child to build that because people don't know.
I know. And a little bit, admittedly, was, we were doing a little daydreaming, right? It was a little like, oh, and then we could have this and that. It was fun to think about. I don't know how realistic it is. I think you'd have to start off obviously very small, not like a city, but maybe like a small neighborhood, and just say, hey, this is sort of the model. But I just, we were just talking, and he was saying it's something like this is going to be necessary at some point, like necessary.
Well, I don't know if this is weird to compare. I don't think it's weird to compare, but maybe other people do. But like assisted living place for older people has different levels.
Right.
Some people can live on their own, but they're living in there. Some people need assistance.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have it's memory care, so that would be the more severe. So, I mean, they have like restaurants, and then they have buses that take them on trips and all that.
Yeah. No, it's a good
point. But it would have the care that they need.
Right.
And the different levels.
It's a good point. Yeah. And then, we went on too about employment opportunities because, these kids don't stay kids. They grow. I mean, like everybody else. So, you're not always 6. You're eventually 16, and then you're 30, and then you're 40. And, so a lot of it was about employment, the ability to create different tiers of employment so that the young adults then can have some purposeful work to do, to go create a little bit of income, but also learning skills, societal skills, working with other people, understanding like you have a time where you have to go to work, then there's a lunch break, and then you work, and then you come home, and you know what I mean? It's like just some structure that, see, today's structure, it really forces the conformity, which is very hard for a lot of these kids and then young adults. So it's just got to be a little bit more of a flexible structure, but it would be interesting. Again, it's kind of daydreamy, I admit it, but it's interesting to think about, because even if you couldn't do like I said, a city or something, maybe just an area where some things are, are a little bit closer together, and like we said, maybe it's a specialized pediatrician center where, hey, we have a separate wing where we understand special needs kids.
I love this so much. We gotta do it.
It's I hope geez.
No, like even have it, even
plate.
Like how like the assisted living places has the bus. The bus could take the kids to work,
right?
You know, and then bring them back and know that they're safe, because a lot of autistic people I find like ride their bike to work.
Yep.
But that would scare me with Cal. Even if he could, I don't know.
He's 6. It's hard to.
I know.
I mean, we never thought he'd be doing a lot of the things he's doing now, and at least trying to do. The potty training, we pretty much gave up on that, and he's now. I mean, he's not potty trained, but he is showing patience and learning about it. Whereas before, I mean, do you remember there were times where he would run when we mentioned potty training or try to go into the bathroom? He would run. He would scream. I mean, there were a lot of meltdowns about potty training.
And we're potty. I mean, this is since he was 2. I mean, the rest of our kids were potty trained at 2.
Yeah,
So this has been 4 years.
We've been doing this off and on for 4 years. We would take breaks because it just gets exhausting. So we would have, and I think people say, well, you shouldn't encourage that, but no, I'm not encouraging it. I just telling you what happens in our real life, and I really do that so that through the lens of other special needs parents, you're not alone, and that's that's something that. I know they're just words, but it is nice to hear sometimes that there are other people going through these challenges. And, because there's times where you can feel like it's just you, or just your family.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to hear. But yeah, I mean, but now even when we talk about it or show him how it works, he's just a little more patient with it.
Well, and he's having more body awareness of like when he has to go.
Right.
But
even when we're outside, I mean, he's a boy, so obviously he stands up. And so we're saying, when you're outside, if you're outside and you have to go, here's how you would do it. And he's not scared of that.
Right.
He kind of is, I know it's a weird conversation, but
well, and they don't have swim diapers that fit him. I mean, he's pretty big, and the swim diapers only go up to like, I don't know, 40 pounds or something.
Yes. One thing we're doing is in the pool is, which we didn't even think about, is, if you're in the pool and you have to go to the bathroom, you have to get out of the pool. So we're trying to really work on that.
So we're working on him standing up and peeing in the shells.
Right, next to the pool,
yes.
Not in the pool. So
no.
if you ever come to our pool, it's fine. If you ever stop by the pool, everything is fine.
He's actually the best at peeing outside. when he's swimming, because instead of having a swim diaper on that doesn't fit, I have underwear on. So because he thinks he has to wear something, so I have underwear on underneath it, and then he goes and he pees in the shells.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is, hey, this is a day in the life, right? I mean, this is, you get some radio shows and, they talk hard news and politics, and it's all right there. This is a day in the life show, and this is why we do this. I mean, this is.
Well, and maybe if you're working on potty training and it is pool season now, maybe you should do what I just said, because I really struggled to find swim diapers, but him wearing underwear is like him wearing a swim diaper.
Right.
That's what he thinks.
There's a lot more. I mean, again, we didn't know this, but going outside and just, peeing outside has been for him an experience that is a little more enjoyable. And I think he feels less forced than inside. And so, again, if you don't have special needs kids, it's probably very hard to understand. I mean, we have 5 kids and our 4 other kids. I mean, this conversation, I'd be like, what are these people talking about?
Well, and we didn't even let the boys pee outside.
Right.
We were like, go to the bathroom.
But for him, it's just, there's a little more freedom. There's a little less. He also loves being outside. So my point is you got to, looking back on it, they have those potty training plastic toilets.
Yeah.
Like maybe going outside in the backyard and doing it would have been easier for him, because he loves nature.
Yeah.
He loves the birds and the squirrels and looking at the helicopters and all the stuff that nature has. Maybe just environmentally, that was a place to do that. But I mean, this is stuff that you just can't know, and you just can't know it until you go through it. So,
well, and he was diagnosed at 3 years old with autism and global developmental delay.
Well, that's another aspect of this. Yeah. The developmental delay.
Right. So they did not tell me that potty training was going to be an issue, and that a lot of special needs kids are not potty trained until the age of 6 to 10.
Yeah. No, and that's, again, that's stuff that, just from a societal kind of a standpoint, I mean, it would have been nice to know.
I know.
Because what we didn't understand is with the global developmental delay, we were trying to potty train a 2.5-year-old, but he was really intellectually about 6 months old.
So his body wasn't ready.
Nothing was ready.
But then you feel
the
like
mind,
a failure.
The body, the nothing. Of course. But again, that's something, I mean, would you ever try to potty train a 6-month-old? I mean, that's not going to happen, right?
No.
I've never heard of that happening,
No.
like ever. So I just, those are kind of the aspects of this whole thing. I think that, again, when you're going through it, you're so much going on. You know what I mean? But now it's like, oh, now I understand. It's a lot of this game is patience. And it really is. And I know that's just one word and it's a frustrating word. But if you can just tell yourself you're going to understand more about this current situation a little bit down the road. And when you do understand that situation, it's actually going to help you with future situations. But you got to live it. You got to go through it.
Well, and I was so stuck on autism when he was first diagnosed at 3, that I didn't even really start thinking about global developmental delay until probably 2 years in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's another, I just saw somebody on LinkedIn and they were telling the story. Her autistic son just had his first seizure. He's 10. And that's about when epilepsy becomes an issue with these kids. And it's about 40%. That's what the science says. And she was doing a video, obviously heartbroken. But it's interesting. She already had a neurologist lined up like a year or 2 ago. She had already kind of shopped around, I guess, and had found a neurologist who has treated a lot of autistic kids who had developed epilepsy. So, and I'm thinking to myself, well, that's awesome. Like you were ready. You did everything you could do.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that.
That scares me.
We'll have somebody. Well,
I have tears in my eyes right now.
Yeah, it is. It's
I didn't know it started at 10.
Around it's not 10. It's around 10.
Well, that's terrible.
It's those years, and it's primarily boys. Very rare for this to happen to a girl.
Jeez.
But it's about 40%. So it's But you know what? I mean, yes, it's sad. It's challenging because we're like we can't handle one more thing, but you have to understand the reality of this, right? Like it's a high percentage. So
Wow.
the best thing you can do is get ready for it. Prepare.
Jeez.
Think if we were told, think if you got the diagnosis when, the baby's.
When he was a baby?
Well, before birth, in the womb.
Yeah, at least you could get prepared.
That's my point, right?
Have everything lined up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could have all of it, the therapies, everything. So I say this because it's not just about the epilepsy thing. I'm using an example that I saw from LinkedIn, but anything that you think could be coming around the corner, I mean, the preparation is key. It really reduces stress when you're going through the moment. Like I said, we're going to be joined by Dr. John Young from Young Foundational Health Center in Largo in just about 10 minutes. We'll have a great conversation with Dr. Young. Also, thank you to our awesome autism awareness partners, the Somos Sensory Swing and Hammock. This is the #1 sensory swing and hammock on the TikTok shop. People are buying this thing like crazy, and I understand why, because we set this up for Cal, and it has become part of his routine morning and night. It's got this built-in pillow. And I got to tell you, I've never seen one of these things with a built-in pillow, but go to dailyautism.com and you can click on the Somos Sensory Swing and Hammock button and get our discount. They are offering a sale right now at dailyautism.com. Also, our friends at the original Krabby Bill's, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, and we have to say happy birthday to them. They're celebrating another year in business.
Yep.
Is it 42 years or 41? It's one of them, I think.
I don't know. I thought I was going to say 40, but I think that was last year.
That was last.
So I think it's 41.
Anyway, they're offering some unbelievable deals. They're actually going back when they opened 40 plus years ago and doing some of the same prices on some of their items.
Yeah, they have great prices on food specials.
All this weekend.
Yes.
And this is the original Krabby Bill's on Indian Rocks Beach. They're great supporters of autism awareness. Actually, just great supporters of the community in general. I could go down the list of all the causes they support and everything they've done for the community.
And a very nice family.
Very nice family, and it doesn't hurt that it's just an awesome place to go. That's where we kind of disappear and escape real life sometimes. It's just a great place to get an appetizer and a cold beer and happy hour and great music. I mean, you just feel like you've jetted off to a private island. Every time you say, well, it's about time to go, I go, oh, no, we got to leave.
I want to go there now.
I know you do. I can see it in your face. Maybe later. I don't know. Maybe later. We're definitely going to go this weekend, though. But happy birthday to them, and congratulations on the success. And thank you to the service, to the community, the original Krabby Bills. Also, the Lift Academy, they've got some awesome events coming up. First off, the Lift Academy, they've got an expansive it is the Taj Mahal, honestly, of academies for special needs for the neurodivergent kids in Clearwater, Florida. Go to dailyautism.com and click on their link. 95%, actually, it's more than 95% of their kids are on scholarships, and they can help you get through that process. So dailyautism.com and click on the Lift Academy. But they've got the Raise Your Spirits event coming up, which is a derby themed event. Also, there's a golf tournament coming up, and they will be one of the benefactors of those as well. And again, you can link to all of that from dailyautism.com to the Lift Academy. I wish I could play golf. I would. This is like I want to go support. I guess I can still go support it. I can't play golf. I can just hang out though, right?
Yeah, you're not good at golf.
I am a. Yeah, I've only played. This is bad. I'm kind of a quitter at golf. I played once. I wasn't good. I quit. Who's good at anything the first time?
Yeah, you should try.
Yeah, I just quit. So I don't know why I gave that up. Maybe I got so much going on. I don't think I can devote my summer to golf.
No, but I would try it sometime with you.
Oh, so this has now turned into
why couples golf together?
Oh yeah, only if we go to Krabby Bill's after.
Okay,
that's the deal. Again, Dr. John Young's going to join us here in just about 6 minutes. Real quick, we touched on this last week. It's important, though. I want to mention it again because we're talking about the pool and swim season, and pool season is back. We are back in the pools and the Gulf of Mexico and everything in boats. The state of Florida, there's a new law that went into effect that they will be covering swim lessons for many families throughout the state of Florida. There are some qualifications on that, but I wanted to put that out there so that you could start doing your research. It's very important. You know, drowning is the #1 cause of death to autistic kids, and Florida is #1 in drownings to kids in general. Easy to understand. We have longer pool seasons, and we're surrounded by water in nearly every direction. So that is something that's available to families, and I really encourage you to research that. I just think it's something that's so important. And to your credit, I mean, you were just on it. And, you know, Cal can swim. He can swim. And again, something I thought that was never going to happen. To the point of, I mean, I remember 3 years ago, I was like, do I even want a pool anymore? You know, is that something I even want to think about?
Yeah, if he jumped in our pool, he knows exactly what to do.
Right.
But jumping in a lake or a pond or
the
intracoastal, I mean, that's like a whole different thing.
Right.
So as far as eloping goes, which eloping is when the kids run away. And they're not just running away. Like, if they can get out of the house, they leave,
Right.
So we've just started putting our locks higher because this kid can stand on his tippy toes and get all the locks now.
Well, he also understands now to take the chairs. I mean, this is really something. He's now figured out he can just take a chair, carry it to a door, stand on the chair, and voila.
I know.
You're now 6 feet tall or 5.5 feet tall or whatever it is. It's, yeah. So it's
scary.
It's scary. I think you just did a video about that.
I did.
Yep.
I did a couple.
DailyAutism.com for Facebook, Instagram, and you could see those videos. We do multiple videos a day, and really a lot of it is about what's going on in the world of autism. It could be from, public policy perspectives and laws and things like that, but it's also a lot of our life too, and our house and Cal and, lifestyle stuff. And we try to give tips on products and services that we find that make life easier because, we need it. We all need a little break. And so again, you can link to all that at dailyautism.com. I also want to thank Ling Huang. He is the CEO of Technology North. He has developed a really awesome, it's a technology, it's a process, it's just almost a life, and it's really about employment for young adults on the spectrum. And I think this is going to be a global initiative that Ling has created. You can go to technologynorth.net or go to dailyautism.com and click on the Technology North button. Also encourage you to read and listen and watch all of Ling's content across LinkedIn, which you can link to from my page and our other social media pages. And I post as much as I can about Ling and what he's doing and really the path that he's on. And he's just found something really purposeful. But more than that, it's successful, the processes he's created. It is something that we all think about. We may not talk about it, but what is going to happen to our children, our autistic children, when they're not children anymore? And so Ling has really put that into place, and we appreciate that. Angel Sense. This GPS technology is awesome. It is still Autism Awareness Month, which means they are still giving the device away for absolutely free. DailyAutism.com. Click on the Angel Sense button, and they will send. It's either the GPS tracking device or the watch. They send to you free. Then there's a subscription plan. They also have some funding initiatives for help with funding these subscriptions. Again, DailyAutism.com, and click on Angel Sense. Also, Begin Health. These are prebiotics. Prebiotics. Some people say, you're trying to say probiotics, but you're saying prebiotics. No. These are the things that make the probiotics happy. That's not scientific talk. That's just the way I'm saying it. But we've got some great videos, actually, of Cal taking these prebiotics, which is really good. A lot of the ASD kids, their gut systems are not wired correctly, and they do need some care. And so to get the prebiotics, which make a great environment for probiotics to thrive, that's what they do from Begin Health. Also, you might as well grab our discount if you're going to get it, dailyautism.com and the Begin Health button. What did you make? You made
macaroni and cheese.
Mac and cheese.
And banana bread.
And banana. So we mix so this is like superstar mac and cheese. And I know people say, well, why are you giving your son mac and cheese? He loves it. That's like his treat food. You know?
And I'd rather him eat than not eat.
Yes. So it's not every day. It's not all day. But once in a while, he wants mac and cheese, and he gets it. And it makes him happy.
But this prebiotic dissolves, and it's flavorless, and it mixed right in.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Again, grab our discount at dailyautism.com. Also, our friends at Aeroflow Urology. We talked about potty training earlier and the challenge. You may qualify for free diapers. The button is on dailyautism.com. Click Aeroflow Urology. And I want to mention, too, before we get to Dr. John Young here coming up in a minute, our friends at Fun Factory Sensory Gym, they were really the designers behind our studio that we've opened up in Seminole called My Sensory Studio. It's a private sensory studio. But the design that they've done thousands and thousands of these, great people, and they do great work. And you can learn all about their work. Maybe you need a sensory gym in a school, a church, a doctor's office, anything, a hotel. I mean, I don't know, anywhere. And it can be in your home. They've done them in residences before too. So dailyautism.com to click on that link as well. So, all right, Dr. John Young is coming up. Again, dailyautism.com, where you can link to all of our social medias. And our LinkedIn newsletter is like really growing a lot. And it's awesome. We put it out twice a week, and it's just the trending stories of the week about special needs and specifically the autism community. So you can join it right there from Daily Autism. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
We're going to deep dive into some talk with Dr. John Young, youngfoundationalhealth.com, youngfoundationalhealth.com to learn more about Dr. Young. Really excited to be joined by Dr. John Young, Young Foundational Health Center in Largo, Florida. Dr. Young, I really appreciate this. I got to tell you, we have a lot of guests on the radio shows, the podcasts, and the social media channels. But when I came across some of your YouTube videos, your website, I was really excited to finally get to talk to you. I know you're a busy man, you're doing important work, but I appreciate you taking a few times and welcome.
Well, thank you. Listen, I've been looking forward to this. So I think what you're doing with autism, I listen to you Saturday mornings, 6 a.m. And so I appreciate what you're doing for the community and just people with special needs, kids all over.
Well, thanks. I wanted to start off with what I think is a really fascinating piece of content that you put out on your YouTube channel. And this was a video, and I got to tell you, I've spent 3.5 years doing a lot of research, talking to a lot of people. But when you started talking about the research that you've been doing recently, and specifically these two aspects of the autistic brain, and one of them being the insulation factor in the brain, and then the other one, a type of protein involved with the brain. And I love the way you bring it up, because there's a lot of other aspects that people talk about autism, but you kind of went on a quest and said, but what is always present, or what is always a commonality, not other things that are sometimes maybe sorta, but always. And I just think it'd be good to talk about those things that you've found along your research.
All right. Well, I'm going to go back a little bit before that because I went into medicine to cure sickness and disease. And I found out after doing 6 months of my internship at the VA there in Huntington, West Virginia, that it wasn't so much about curing sickness and disease. It was maintaining these illnesses, slowing the progress down. Because I said to my chief resident one day, I said, Bob, you ever notice that there's about 60 VA patients that keep this hospital going? They come in for 2 weeks, go on for 2 weeks, back for 2 weeks. Why don't we try to do something really wild? Why don't we try to actually get them better? He said, Young, you want to get through your residency? I said, sure. Shut up and do what everybody else does. So I zipped it, got rid of the key, and I did what everybody else did. But it always bugged me. We were never really doing basic biochemistry, physiology, genetics. What is really going on here? We're just looking at what drugs out there and things like that. And then when I did a lot of my training also in Africa, in the jungles of Africa, Swaziland, we had to get to the root of the problem. And we didn't have the luxury of refrigeration and do this or that. So it's always been my desire to say, what is really going on here? Why do they have high blood pressure? Not what drug I can give you. Why do we have autism? And so I really got going on this about a year ago, whether you call it divine or whatever, but I'd wake up about 3:30 in the morning, wide awake, thinking about some of these neurological diseases out there and a lot of my patients, my autistics, my Parkinson's, my Alzheimer's, my Downs. My daughter is a Downs child, and started just reading. Now, what I found out is there's reading these, Journal of American Medical Association, Journal of Pediatrics. Then there's the Journal of Cellular and Bioelectric Physiology, the Journal of, Cellular Pathology or whatever. And when you get into those journals, it's a completely different educational experience. And I talked to a doctor who said, we have our big conferences in San Francisco, New York, Disney World. Then there's those little conferences, Gainesville, Topeka, Kansas, Akron, Ohio, where the real scientific literature is presented. And that's what I found out. It's not the standard journals that everyone's reading. It's really where it's deep, deep science, really cutting edge, that is way before any drug company has gotten in there to what drug I can make or whatever. And what really blew my mind was that in looking at these neurodegenerative diseases and looking at also autism, this protein, alpha, beta, and gamma synuclein, SYNUCLEIN, that will be on the test, so remember that.
Yeah, thank you.
Coming up. And there's two great studies out there looking at serum and cerebrospinal levels of this. And it was like 100% correlation between severity of autism and some of these gamma levels, and also looking at the alpha levels, which also correlate 100%. And I'm realizing this synuclein protein is extremely important, but no one's talking about it. And I'm talking to neurologists, and they've heard of it, but that was it. Synuclein protein, all of us have it. It's at the end of the neurons in the brain and in the gut, different areas of the body, the heart. For some reason, somehow, that protein can get misfolded. Don't know exactly why. It could be, some people said there's toxins, some people say there's vaccines, some people chronic illness, viruses, whatever. We don't really know 100%. But what I did talk about is this. That synuclein protein starts to damage the neurons. It encroaches on the actual nerve. It eats away the myelin sheath, or the insulation along the nerve. Two wires touch each other, everything shorts out. And as I looked at autistics, it's like everything is getting shorted out. The message, it's too loud, too quiet, too dark. The message is, there's a short in the system. Synuclein protein eats away at that insulation. When it does, it damages the potassium channel. And as I say to my friends, it's the electrical system, stupid. It's the electrical system. It's the potassium channels that are responsible for the electrical current or electrical output of that cell. It's about 65 to 75 milliwatts. These cells in these kids may be running at 10 to 40 milliwatts. So it's like a light, a dimmer. Hey, listen, it's very romantic in here, but can we turn up the light so I can see the menu? You just can't turn that light up and what's really going on here. So you're getting these mixed messages all the time. They talk about fixing the channels. And, we have calcium channel blockers for blood pressure control, beta blockers, chloride, sodium. But potassium channel blockers are kind of rare and in between. And I think part of it is that there's not a whole lot of money to be made off of. I hate to say that. So in the studies, they always kept talking about this chemical or this compound called 4, the number 4 amino, AMINO, pyridine, PYRIDINE. And its effect on the potassium channels. And the studies were just unbelievable. I first started using it on my Parkinson's patients, and I had 3 terrible cases. And basically, 4 months later, you can hardly tell these people ever had Parkinson's.
Now, what is that process like? Is I'm thinking of, I don't know. I mean, is it an injection? Is it a pill? Is it a liquid? How does it work?
So it is a pill. Actually, FDA approved for MS, multiple sclerosis. They don't use it because there's not a lot of money in it. And the recommendations for MS are with drugs that are very expensive, and that's what they're using nowadays. But in the autistic, what we found is this, that 4-aminopyridine seems to reduce alpha-synuclein protein. So in other words, that protein is kind of, the water's coming into the house. All right, I'd like to push it out. I can use 4-amino one way, but I need to repair the potassium channels. I've got to get this electrical system going. It rebuilds the myelin sheath, but here's the key thing. It closes the potassium channel, because when synuclein protein encroaches, the channel never closes. Potassium ions come into the channel, they fall right through. You build up 1 or 2 millivolts of electrical energy, big deal. So you close the channel like it's supposed to happen, The potassium ions come in, they fill it up, and at 75 millivolts, it fires right after the sodium channels, and you get this electrical charge to do what it's supposed to do. What I have done in some of my autistics, my Downs, my Parkinson's, all that, is I will use IV exosomes. It's a fraction of cord blood. FDA controls all that. And it also removes a large amount of that synuclein protein, kind of keeps it at bay. And so I don't have so I can rely, I get better results when I use that. But if people can't afford it, the 4-amino works, it just takes longer. But it's trying to get that synuclein protein away so that I can increase BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor, to help the brain heal, which 4-amino helps with that also. I can remake the myelin sheath, and I can close those channels. And I had a lady the other day, and this is why you like your job, because you are really helping people. And I love my job. I am not retiring because I love my job. 4 days a week is enough, though. I do have to play tennis on the other 3 days. So, as one lady said, she complained of something. I said, well, here, let me reduce the 4-amino. Oh, she got very upset. John, you ain't reducing anything. Why? Well, I had an autistic kid, and basically he's about normal. So you're not reducing anything. Well, could I just adjust the evening dose? Okay, you can do that, but don't do anything else. Every person is an individual, but all the patients that I'm dealing with are finding this has made such a big difference in their autistic kid. Cognition is really amazing. A lot of the stuff I do, I try on my own family or myself. I did try the 4-amino myself. And I will tell you this, you don't remember much. I mean, you don't forget much, excuse me.
Yeah.
It really does make the memory sharper because it's the electrical system. It's the electrical system.
So the overall goal would be to reduce the protein, but we want to increase the sheath, right? Those are the two kind of simultaneous events we're looking for.
And close the channel so you can build up enough of the potassium ions to run it. And giving you more potassium doesn't do anything because the channel's been injured and you still have a hole in the gas tank.
Yeah, if you're leaking oil and you pour more oil in, you're still leaking oil.
Right.
Okay. Why do you think, going back to, why does it take somebody like you at, you talk about 3:30 in the morning getting up, and I applaud you and appreciate you for doing that. But you talk about these big journals and then you talk about it's like these smaller towns and these smaller networks of people. Why is just, and I guess this is more of a question just about the overall system, because again, I've researched a lot. I haven't heard any of this stuff. I've read everything. I've talked to everybody. And is it just the way it is? Is it just the structure of medicine or the business of medicine? I mean, why is it like this? Why is it when I sent your video to, I have a very strong network of people that I trust and communicate with, and they had never heard of this either. Why is it like that, do you think?
Okay, you can understand a disease or a condition and just tell me the basic facts of what to do, and I give you the medicine. And that's why you read the journals that you see out there. New England Journal of Medicine, JAMA, all of those. Then there's a whole nother layer of medicine that people don't really know about, which is, why does this disease cause these problems in these patients? Why? Versus what can I give them to stop it? Why? I want to know why this kid is damaged. Why this drug worked. What did they do? And so that's a completely subset of medicine that really, it's, when I first started into this deeper aspect of it, I couldn't even pronounce half the words, and it is very difficult in reading. Over time, you get into it. But it just is very, very scientific. It's not an enjoyable reading for most people, but it's just to another level. You can know your car, but then can you get these master mechanics that can fix even the toughest problem.
Talk about some of the results that you've seen personally in your office and some of the things that parents, have said to you. I'm sure that sometimes people are I mean, I'm even skeptical when I talk about new things and hear new things for the first time. But talk about some of the things that maybe a parents came in and then what they say to you, kind of maybe a before and after type of situation.
Well, cognition is one of the top ones. My child is just much more aware. In other words, I can just tell, and it depends on the severity of the autistic, but they usually all say cognition. He's more aware, she's more aware, she understands, may have still trouble speaking, but understands exactly what I need and will go get it or do whatever. Then the next thing I start to hear is I hear better speaking and words I don't know where they came from, but all of a sudden he's putting stuff together in sentences and paragraphs now. Like with my daughter, Down's kids have a potassium channel problem. All of a sudden one day I said, Catherine, get out of the pool, we're going to Publix. Crying, she used to cry and moan and all that. I said, Catherine, get out of the pool, we're going to Publix. I don't want to. Well, why not? Well, I want to swim. Well, we're going to Publix. Well, I'll go upstairs and ask Jonathan if he'll watch me. Oh, okay, do that. In other words, we're having a conversation and she's saying, well, here's my part of the side. Here's your side. Let's talk it out. So I hear that from the parents also. The kid, we're starting to have more of a relationship.
Even in that scenario, it's like there's some reasoning going on, right? It's like, I have a solution to the problem. You want me to go to Publix? I want to stay here. And you know what I mean? There's some reasoning going on.
I still hear this same thing. There's a change in my kid I haven't seen before. He's starting to become alive. But it's right. As you get the electrical system working, those toasters and ovens in your kitchen are useless until you get the electrical system going.
That's another great thing that I love how you talk about that, and not just the video I saw, but the other videos that you have out there about the electrical system. And it's such a good way to put it for just normal, everyday people like me who don't understand a lot of math. I'm not a math and science brain, right? I'm the history and English brain, but I really appreciate that. And because a lot of people ask me, they said, what happened with Cal? And I could say, listen, here's all I can tell you. He was there and then he wasn't. And it almost was as simple as turning off the car, unplugging the toaster, or lightning hitting the house and the computer, melts down or whatever. And so I think it's really interesting the way that you present it like that as an electrical system. And I've talked about that with other people. And then your interventions about, having to repair the electrical system and kind of working at it from that way.
Some of my kids will tell me I know nothing. As they get older, they won't continue that. But I have to take all this up and get into a system that I can understand it. And once I do that, and a lot of the patients say the same thing, now I understand. Now I can see what you're trying to do, John, with my child. I understand it. What else do we need to do, this or that? And this is not, listen, I still think physical therapy, speech therapy, all of that is great. I like higher vitamin D levels. I want to make sure that the lithium, the mineral lithium is adequate to make dopamine, and which has to do with anxiety, stress, and all that. So there's no one thing. This electrical activity has just been a huge mind blower in my practice of medicine.
I'm glad you brought that up, and it's a good teaser for our next interview coming up next month, because I did want to talk about kind of the overall approach, and I agree with you 1,000%. I mean, vitamin D, which is free by the sun. I know we need more than that, but it's a good place to start. And then we talk about exercising and those vestibular inputs and things that you can do, and nutrition. I mean, we could go on and on, but it's a good little tease for next month, because I do want to talk about some of the other things that you do, and it is a building block. I believe that. I believe that 100%. It's like ingredients in a recipe. It's not one thing and you get the final product. There's got to be multiple ingredients to get that one outcome, that one entree that you're trying to cook. So I definitely want to get to that the next time we talk. That's Dr. John Young, youngfoundationalhealth.com in Largo, Florida. Dr. Young, we appreciate. I was glad to hear that you're not retiring. So that's good news, but you're going to take a couple days to play tennis every week. So that's good news itself as well.
I really enjoyed being with you and look forward to doing some more talking together.
We absolutely will. We'll talk again soon. That's Dr. John Young, youngfoundationalhealth.com. And you can grab more about Dr. John Young at youngfoundationalhealth.com. which is located in Largo, Florida. You can also go back and get this interview if you want to listen again or share it with somebody at dailyautism.com and link to all of our podcast platforms from there. We'll see you online at dailyautism.com.